What's up guys, Nolan here, and today we're going to be talking about what maps are the best to play on wipe day. The thing that makes a map good in general, but especially after a wipe, is the types of enemies that you fight mostly. You'll want to farm the scavs and even bosses to get their gear, as it will be adequately to significantly better than anything other players will be using at that time, unless they themselves are also farming the scavs or the scav bosses. A cool thing here is that you do not need to rush this. If you don't like speeding through the early levels, then you can go after just some of the bosses, and then you can have a leg up on your PvP with the looted thick armor and AP weapons that you've gotten from these bosses. Here's the quick breakdown. If you have a labs card and are confident that you can do well on labs, then play labs. You'll be packed with end game loot and loads of XP on day one after a couple extractions on labs. Pound for pound, a good raid on labs is better than a good raid on any other map, period. If you're not good enough at labs or you don't have a keycard, you will have the most efficient time per XP or gear raids on reserve because of the loose loot potential and the guarantee of raiders outside of labs. You also have Gluhar and his bodyguards, which are very difficult to farm, but that's what makes this map stand out the most for me. So if you're not good enough or equipped enough to farm them, move to a different map. If you want to unlock the traders and complete tasks quickly, you will need to play customs and complete the tasks there first, period. You do have a chance at Reshala and his guards too, but the amount of time you spend waiting for the raid will tip the scale for efficient use of your time, so I wouldn't make that your priority. I would still stick to just tasks. Interchange is for tech and Killa farming, but he doesn't always spawn and is highly contested by other players, on top of being difficult to kill in general. It's Killa. But if you run my Interchange route and forget about Killa, you'll do great. Shoreline is a simple farm when you follow the coast road for lots of scavs and technically easier PvP. The loot is pretty solid between Loot Island, the gas station, and the pier building. If you want to farm keys, it's great, so check out my key farming vid for that. Woods is realistically only good for tasks, scavs, and Sturman, but he doesn't always spawn and will probably yeet you if you don't have a ranged optic. But even when you do have a ranged optic, his guards love to yeet you with their grenades still. Factory is last because it's essentially only for farming scavs, but with the close quarters and high volume of cheeky player scavs, it's difficult to pull off and survive, let alone profit when playing alone. That's the quick breakdown, but if you want more info or tactics, here it is. So we'll go back through the maps here in order, starting with labs. Of course, labs has great loot and XP potential, but the majority of you watching this won't possess the skill and knowledge of the map to make it work with day one gear. If you are good at labs and have a key card, then play labs unless you want higher level traders. You will have to decide whether you want to get the traders unlocked quickly. If that's the case, then customs is the best map, no questions asked, because there are so many tasks required for that map. But because it takes so long to get into a customs raid on wipe day, there's other maps you should be able to have 2 or 3 full raids on before the time it takes you to do just one customs raid, when you include waiting for the lobbies. While in customs, you must primarily focus on the current tasks, but you will also have the chance to run into Reshala and his bodyguards for some great mid-game loot. There's also loads of hidden stashes too. If you don't make progress or complete tasks while in customs, it isn't as efficient as Reserve, Interchange, Shoreline, or Woods. Other than labs, Reserve is the highest loot potential, hands down. There's no other map that has the loose loot and enemy spawns that Reserve has. You have the chance of getting Gluhar and his 6 bodyguards, who all have great mid to end game gear. Then you can hit the alarm and have at least 3 raiders pop up around the train station area for another 3 sets of mid to end game gear. Completing this is going to require significant skill and luck depending on the equipment you've brought and the intervention of other players. Loose loot is going to be great in the admin building, the main bunker, school, medical, and White Knight mostly. Interchange has the second highest loot potential for the pure epic amount of loot pool items and loose loot. There's also tons of scavs and the big boy himself, Killa. You are able to get Killa with some of the lower level weapons because he will get stun locked. There's plenty of videos out there on farming Killa. The gist of it is that he'll usually find a way to destroy your hopes and dreams, but when you do get that open shot, go for the arms or legs so that you can preserve his armor for later. The way I do this is if I realize that he's seen me, then I just run away to a different position. If I find him looking another way, I get as close as I can to leg him. If he gets too close, I usually panic and go for the chest, as long as I have good enough ammo. This will take a lot of skill and luck to do well with this farm though. So worst case scenario, just stick to my Interchange route while on the map. Shoreline is potentially better than Interchange, but you really need to know the map to do well on it, loot-wise. There's loads of hidden stashes, and if you're interested in keys, you can check out my key farm video for that. Long story short though, it's mostly just the western town. Scavs are usually pretty plentiful on the map, but so are sneaky players. There's loads of high ground around the map for people to get the cheeky snipes and ambushes on you. The coast road is a pretty easy farm route, as it's straightforward, literally, with loads of scavs and solid loot potential. It also makes PvP a lot easier because there's less places for people to hide, as they're either going to be just up the coast or in the open beach, as you obviously will not need to worry about them being in the water. The reason why Shoreline is here is you don't have the same chances for mid to late game gear that you'd get on Interchange, and certainly not Reserve, unless you get very lucky with some of the scavs. Woods is pretty lousy for loose loot, and there's only 7 hidden stashes. If you play Woods early wipe, then it's to either complete tasks or farm scavs. Sturman and his bodyguards are very difficult to deal with unless you have a ranged optic and some solid armor. You can get very lucky sometimes and catch them sleeping, aka not moving very much for some easy headshots, but other times you can get completely wrecked. Sturman's SVD will annihilate you from range, and his bodyguards tend to have 308 hard-hitting weapons too. The bodyguards also love to throw airburst grenades. There's always 2 of them, and if you have trouble finding the second one, he's practically always in that one bush that you don't check with a grenade ready and waiting. Sturman doesn't spawn every raid though, and the best loot on the map is always highly contested while being not that great compared to other maps. Put that all together, and that's why I have Woods this low on the list. If you have a group of 5 players, or you get lucky with some high quality mid to late game gear, or you're just really good at factory, then farming scavs on factory is also good, as you'll have the chance on some great barter and loot items in the pockets and backpacks of those scavs. Going solo is still risky though, because you'll need to loot the scavs significantly, which takes time. And if you don't have anybody watching your back, and even sometimes when you do, you can have that cheeky, sneaky player scav that will get you. That's going to be the full map choices breakdown for Wipe Day play. If you want to learn anything about Escape from Tarkov or its development, then you can check out my playlist for it here. If you like this video, then you know the drill. I really appreciate the people who do. Otherwise, I hope you at least learned something, and I also hope you have a nice day. See you guys.